to the Technical Staff and Theatre Workers podcast. It's the podcast in which I talk to people who work backstage in the technical theatre industry about how they got in, their experiences, and any advice they can give to anyone getting in. This is episode 4 of season 1. A big thank you to everyone who's downloaded the show, everyone who's listening to the show. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know who's interested in theatre and those who aren't interested in theatre, because it might make them interested in theatre. Yes, thank you so much for all the downloads. It's been really good so far, so really enjoying it. And without further ado, let's get on to our next guest. I'm here with my guest at this time, and I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Arran, and I'm the current company manager of the Drifters Girl Tour.
Excellent. Touring. That's always good. I like touring.
Yeah, interesting.
Arran, how did you get into theatre?
Oh, so I kind of went to the traditional route, but actually I started off, I always knew I wanted to be backstage, always. But I went to youth theatre because that was the only way in. And then, so I went to youth theatre and had a jolly time,
Right.
and then decided that I want to volunteer backstage. So I volunteered at my local theatre, which was the Albany Theatre and the Belgrave Theatre, for a good couple of years, and then went off to train at the Birmingham School of Acting, but now is the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, and I study stage management.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And that's what you consider the traditional route in?
Yeah, I guess so, because, you know, that is, a lot of people say you've got to go through university, but I kind of did a bit of both, really. I didn't have to go to university, but I thought it would better me and be able to give me more contacts to be able to move further in my career.
Oh, excellent. And so did you want to be a performer originally?
Never.
Never. So
Never.
you've always wanted to work backstage?
I've always wanted to work in theatre.
Right.
And I didn't know what at first, and then performing was the only route, first of all. But then as soon I quickly learnt that it wasn't for me, and I always wanted to be backstage. So, and, you know, I was very curious about what actually happened to make something appear on stage the way it did. And I never knew that there was so many roles when I first started out about what was around.
That's the interesting thing, is that people can watch theatre and they don't really... It doesn't really dawn on them what it takes to get the show, or even just the scene they're watching to be the scene they're watching, because they're just watching the performers. What was your first job?
My first job was actually working back at the Belgrave Theatre. So I finished university a week early, just a week.
Nice.
And went and worked on a production called Raw 3, which was actually a community-led production entwined with professional actors, and I was DSM.
DSM being Deputy Stage Manager?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent.
Yes.
So you called the show?
I did call the show. So I was in rehearsals, and I was in rehearsals blocking all the different sections. So it was in sections. It wasn't a traditional play or a musical. It was in lots of different sections. So I was in rehearsals all day, every day, learning the show, I guess, and creating what is called the prompt copy, and then called the show.
What is the prompt copy?
So the prompt copy is a folder, in its simplest sense, a folder which has the script in, and sometimes script and score, but in this instance it was just a script, and it was actually quite interesting, a devised piece as well. So I was kind of helping write the script as we go, so I was kind of typing up the notes. But then once we've had a final draft, in my prompt copy, I had a script, so the final version, and in that script had the blocking in, so all their movements, so what the actors were doing and when they moved and when they came off stage, but also any furniture which was on there, any kind of movement at all that happened was in that script, and then that was during the rehearsal period, and then when we got into theatre we went through technical rehearsals
and realised that it was all wrong,
yeah,
and all in the wrong
yeah,
place.
Absolutely, because it was totally different to what we were doing in the rehearsal room, and lots of reblocking, and then we put the cues in as well, so I could call when the lighting and sound cues would go, but also when stage management for the scene changes as well.
Excellent. Give us a list of any other jobs you've had
So I've worked on Dreamgirls in a different capacity, rather than stage management, but an extension of stage management, of company management,
Right.
and the Book of Mormon in company management role, and obviously in the current job as a company manager as well.
So what led you from the stage management to the company management side of things?
So whilst I was training, I explored lots around different areas of the sector, and company management. As soon as I got into training, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's it.
Right.
I wanted to do company management. So I went off, and I thought it was really important for me to do stage management and have jobs within stage management, because you get a good understanding of how production works within stage management, because you work with everyone. So I wanted a good knowledge about actually what is to do in stage management, to become a company manager. And I really like the aspect of being a company manager, sometimes. No, I do. I really enjoy it because, you get to work with every member of the company in all aspects. And it's also learning about that pastoral care and being a people person.
And you get to be in charge.
And be in charge, yeah, absolutely. And to deal with phone calls at 8 o'clock in the morning and things like that. But, it is a rewarding job, but equally quite a stressful and also important job as well for any company.
Absolutely. What would you say was your favourite job and why?
My favourite job was working on Coventry City of Culture opening event.
Oh, excellent.
Which I was stage manager for. Well, I was technically head of all of the headline acts. So I would look after all the talent. So all those people, important people, who were local talent to Coventry, but it was a real eye-opener about the scale of how things can be done. It was a city-wide event, very different to your proscenium march in a theatre.
Right, yep.
And I learnt so much on that job because of the different amount of people I had to work with and the different levels of people I had to work with as well. But also knowing, and this is my segue into company management a little bit, in terms of how to deal with high pressure situations, but also what I need to do to be ensure that everyone is happy.
Yeah.
And also work out difficult situations, problem solving, all which feeds into stage management really, but it's just on a different scale.
Oh, excellent. Now, so this is kind of the intense part of it. So now how do I put this without being insulting? Asian origin?
Yeah.
Yes, being of Asian origin. Have you had any issues that you've come across within the industry because of that at all?
Yeah. I think this is a really interesting question. Part of the reason, actually, a lot of work I've done around diversity and inclusion is about ensuring that people are represented. And if I'm honest, I could be wrong, but I am the only, who I've come across anyway, and I've ever worked, is the only South Asian male stage manager or company manager currently. I haven't came across anyone else who is South Asian heritage. And yes, there has been difficulties. I found it quite hard, if I'm honest, when I first started out, to really get my foot in the industry in terms of feeling represented and feeling heard. And I had no one to look up to, in a sense, to kind of go, oh, they look like me and I can now do this. And I'm being very lucky, if I'm honest, very, very lucky that my parents are really supportive of me. And, I didn't do traditional route as my parents would class as, or my family would class as a traditional route. I was kind of went off and geared off to do something within the entertainment industry. And they were really supportive about me doing it and have supported me ever since. But yeah, it's a struggle, I think.
But I suppose you've got to have belief in yourself as well. I mean, you've got to bet on yourself quite a lot. I mean,
of course.
Most people have to bet on themselves, but when you, like you say, you're not represented as much, you are, when you are, I hate the word, but as a minority, you really have to bet on yourself and you really have to believe in yourself.
For sure. And I think it's also the fact that because you can't see yourself really, like even when I was growing up, there wasn't really many South Asian shows or anything like that on stage. So actually, it was even harder to come backstage where I was like, oh my God, actually, I don't actually know anyone. It was only probably during the pandemic I reached out and found that there was some South Asian female identifying stage managers and company managers, but still to this day, right now, I still haven't came across anyone who's male South Asian. So that's quite interesting, and clearly there's a barrier or something to be learnt from this.
Yes,
to be able to move forward.
Yes, absolutely. Do you now? Let me see. Pros and cons of working within the industry. Do you have any?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with touring, I think touring, you've got to put your heart and soul into it. You are away from home, which will then obviously have impact on family life, personal life. You kind of got to use that tour family as your own family, and which may mean also missing life events like big birthdays or anniversaries and things like that, which can be quite difficult, and you kind of got to believe in yourself to be able to do that. But I guess another con, a little bit, is that you've got to work in the evenings, and so you don't get that time with your friends. For example, some of my friends don't work in the sector, so trying to arrange a time when you're working 6 days a week in the evenings is really difficult.
It is a lifestyle rather than just a job. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, for sure. You've got to put your whole effort into it.
I think there's a work ethic that you have to have that is conducive to that lifestyle, rather than it just being a job, clock in, clock out.
Yeah.
There you go. You have to, like you say, put everything you can into it. Pros.
Pros.
Any pros?
There are lots of pros, I think. To be able to work in a sector which can be really fun. It can be really fun. And, we're putting on a show every night to thousands of people who are enjoying live theatre. I think that is great to be able to do a job which I genuinely actually love to be in and around theatre, to laugh and joke sometimes, but also there is a serious side, obviously, to the job to ensure that the integrity of the show. But actually, there is so many more people that you get to meet along the way from all different walks of life and different backgrounds. Yeah, for sure. And do you know what? It's great. If you're a people person, I think this is a brilliant job.
It is a brilliant job. It's also great that people can come to watch live theatre again, especially after the last few years.
For sure.
And it's just that form of escapism. We're not doing brain surgery. We're not saving people's lives, but we are helping them escape. And in the current climate, I think escapism is a very important part of life.
Absolutely.
What would you say is one common misconception of anybody who wants to work within the industry?
Oh, hard one. I kind of touches on the cons a little bit. It's not just a jolly. You've got to really put your heart and soul into it. It's not also you get up and for a performer, for example, you can come in at 6 o'clock and do your job. There's so much prep to be done, but equally for those people and backstage folk, it's knowing exactly, there's lots of health and safety implications involved. We work incredibly hard way before the show even goes up to do presets and things like that. You've got to be invested, and if you're not invested or put your heart and soul into a job within theatre, it's quite difficult to be able to carry on. You've got, as you said earlier, it's a lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
And if you don't, everyone thinks it's glitz and glam, and actually all we do is technically work for 2 hours a day and we're fine to put a show on.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than that, and there's so much more that goes into that. Even training and developing within yourself to be able to ensure that you can keep on top of the best technology and the current technology, but also maintaining yourself and being the best that you can be. There's still a lot of personal development, and I think you've always got to be open-minded and ensure that you're willing and open to learning all the time.
Yes.
Don't just think because you've now landed a job or whatever, you're fine. You've always got to be open to learning.
Yes, so the first production manager that I ever worked for, one of the things he said was, don't ever think that you know everything, because you don't.
For sure, yeah.
You're always learning, but it's also one of those industries where you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
You know, if you work hard, you will get great rewards.
Yeah.
Any advice for people who want to get in the industry?
Any advice? Yes. If you're really thinking about getting into the industry, then especially in stage management, I guess I can speak for this a lot. Do shadow, reach out to people, get advice in terms of, research a show, work out who the stage management team are on that show. Old-fashioned I'm a little bit, but like drop in a letter at stage door and ask if you can shadow on a show. And everyone who works backstage is more than willing to have a little chat or a coffee or whatever about their routes into theatre, but equally listening to podcasts like this about how to get into theatre is really important. I think also for me, watch as much live theatre as you can, because once you're in the industry, you don't have time to watch. You don't have time. Of live theatre,
and also working within the industry changes your viewpoint on it
for sure.
I find, because it sort of takes the magic away, doesn't it?
Yeah, because you're always looking. You're always in the theatre thinking, "Oh yeah, I know I did that," or "Oh God, what about this?" And so. But
I think you hit on a very good point there, that you drop in a letter at stage door, but it doesn't take 10 minutes to find out who you're writing that letter to.
For sure.
And I think if you put on somebody's actual name rather than just
a generic letter.
Yeah, a generic letter, I think you're more likely to get a response because you've taken that time to
absolutely,
to find out.
And I think also, with that said, obviously do that, but also be mindful that we are working, and if we don't get back to you straight away, don't harass us about it, but there is a fine line, and I think some people do sometimes cross that, but it's really important, I think, to take the time and research who you're writing to and what you want to get out of your experiences or shadowing or whatever.
Thank you. Right, and that's everything.
Brilliant.
Thank you
so
very much, Arran.
Cheers.
I hope this helps everybody.
Absolutely.
Right, thank you. Bye. Well, thank you to Arran for that one. It was good to talk to him. Touring is an interesting thing, so maybe we'll get some more people on from tours in the future, as it's completely different to the West End is touring. Thank you so much for listening to this. Thank you so much for downloading it. It's been really great, really loving it so far, and long may it continue. Thank you to all the guests that have been on, and I shall see you all next week.